Hello, everybody, and welcome. It's great to have you with us today in this webinar, which is the second out of a series of monthly webinars we are holding this year. Logz.io customer success team is always at your service, and we'd like to make sure you guys get any training and support you need to utilize Logz.io's platform to the fullest and be successful. I'm Boaz Arbel, Head of Customer Success at Logz.io, and with me today we have Thiago Del Rios, Customer Success Engineer here in Boston, and a special guest, Justin Thomas, a lead software engineer from a leading media company in California. Justin will share with us today his own visualization journey, his selections and best practices, while Thiago will walk you through the ways to better utilize Kibana, how to select and create meaningful visualizations, and how to build your own dashboard. We also have with us Eric Alfano, our customer care engineer, who's waiting for any questions you may have. So please go ahead and send your questions to us as they come. Just before we kick this webinar off, let me tell you that every one of you can win some cool prizes today. I don't want to spoil it, so I'll tell you that more about it at the end of the session. I want to wish you all a successful webinar. Thiago, please take it away from here.
Excellent. All right, boss. Thanks for the intro. Hey, everyone. Once again, my name is Thiago. I'm part of the customer success team here at Logz.io. I want to thank everyone also for joining us for a second webinar. Pretty awesome. And we have put together something very special for you all. So we hope you really enjoy it. Before I go into the agenda for today, I want to remind everyone how you can get in touch with our support team. We are available 24/7. So as you go through here, if you have questions about the solution, feel free to ask us through the support channel. There's a couple of ways you can get to us. You can click on the little chat bubble within the account itself. You can send us an email at help@Logz.io. And we also have a self-support page, which we are looking to improve more and more. And you can visit us there at support.logs.io. Now let's dive into the agenda. All right, so for the agenda today, we have three things we will be covering. One is a conversation with Justin, which was introduced here by Boaz. We'll deep dive into how visualizations have helped him and the business he supports today. Plus, he will be sharing some visualizations that he has built himself and how they are currently used within the organization. Secondly, we will help you build some visualizations that you will be able to use by the end of this webinar, especially if you want to have a better understanding of your log volume. I guarantee it, you will really enjoy it and find value during the session. And lastly, we will have some time for some questions so we can further clarify anything for you. And in case we are unable to get out to all of your questions today, we will follow up via email. And I will repeat this again, but Justin will be on the Q&A. So as we have this conversation, if you have any questions for him, please shout them our way, and we'll definitely make sure to sync up with you guys on that as well. Just so you know, we are live, and I will be turning our cameras on for this part of the conversation between myself and Justin. So let me do that right now. All right, so we are on. Justin, thanks for joining us, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Excited to be here.
Excellent, excellent. So as we've mentioned already, Justin is a lead software engineer for a big media company. And but I was hoping he could share some details himself with us. So I'll start off with some questions. And Justin, I think everybody would be pretty exciting to hear from you. So do you mind sharing with us, maybe start off with how long have you been a software engineer yourself?
I've been a software engineer for about 15 years professionally, and then I had some internships that were longer.
Very good, very good. And what are some of the responsibilities you have today within the organization?
Basically, ordering monitors for my team and exciting stuff like that. Also maintaining a production video streaming system. So we're somewhat responsible for day-to-day both feature development and operations of the platform.
Okay, Very good, very good. So I know we actually did have a conversation before, so I actually learned some from you, but I think people will love to hear it as well. So before Logz.io, how did things work within the organization?
It kind of in two phases, kind of the classic way of we might have an app or service running on a box, and the developer might log in and use grep and awk to look at the logs. But as kind of the platform grew and we had many other services, we looked into solutions for centralized logging. We had a lot of interest internally on the Elk stack, and so we for a while ran our own Elk stack, and that became somewhat problematic. So we basically shopped around and found Logz.io.
Okay, okay. So you did use visualizations prior to Logz.io as well, then?
Yeah, we had in some cases we were using Grafana, but mainly just for like line charts and things like that. And I have kind of my own toolkit that can visualize data on the command line, but just from pulling logs with, awk or whatever.
Okay. So why choose a tool like Logz.io, which you actually use log analytics to create visualizations? What was the advantage there?
Well, one of the big advantages is if you have multiple teams that are all using the same centralized logging solution, you can create dashboards that might illuminate things between teams that one team might not have visibility to. Like, for example, if you had a mobile application and there was a slowness in a part of the system that one team, it's impacting their app, they might then be able to see like the problem is directly in another service and know directly who to talk to, rather than just being frustrated or trying to SSH around.
Okay, okay. So how has actually creating some visualizations improved the way you guys work? How has the needs of visualizations changed?
But both having the logs accessible, and if you have any questions, like for us, like if maybe the Android application for one platform might have slowness on one video, like you can ask those type of questions and then break it down, like even regionally or geographically. So it can very quickly tell you like if the problem is global or something localized, and how serious it is. Like if you see something on a dashboard, it's a lot easier to know, like, yes, we have a major problem that just alarmed, or if like, oh no, it looks like it's now improved, and maybe we don't wake everyone up at 3 a.m.
Okay.
So it definitely saves a lot of sleep and questions.
Okay, okay. So the reason I actually asked this, and I would love to dive into the dashboard you have built, is because I have actually read feedback from developers who started using Logz.io, that they actually kind of blames us for taking their rights to actually remote control a machine and do graphing. And also some companies are using Logz.io, but not necessarily leveraging visualizations. Would you have any maybe suggestions for companies like this, how they could actually handle that kind of feedback from developers, or even if they are not really considering using visualizations from logs themselves?
Well, I mean, the main issue of sleep, if you kind of value, and you have, maybe a DevOps organization or some other like network NOC that is looking at information, like they can be the front lines for not actually waking you up, and they can in greater detail see a problem. And for the developer, like you still have the like source logs, and you can look at them yourselves. And the way we have our dashboard set up, which I can kind of talk through, like you can start at the top and see a generalized view, and then dig down into the logs themselves coming off the machine. And 99% of the time we see the problem like right there in the logs if there are errors or something. So it just more saves time.
Okay, very good.
If you've got a bunch of containers running or something like that too, like you don't know which box it's necessarily running on. If you are using like Kubernetes or another container system.
Okay, very good. So I'm actually gonna stop sharing this their video for a minute here, so I can actually go into the visualizations you shared with us, so we can talk a little bit about it. So let's do that. Okay, excellent. So let's start with this visualization right here. Can you talk a little bit about it? Like, what could you share on this?
So if you're not familiar with it, this is a latency heat map. So what this basically tells you, the y-axis on the very top one is the latency that the request took, the time. So like it could be a value like 1 second or 10 seconds or half a second. And the shade, the darker it is, the higher the count. And the x-axis is time. So essentially, if things were going bad, you might see a lot of darker colors with on the bottom parts in the y-axis, like maybe in the 5 second range, 3 second range. And these are like all of our API requests, like coming into our systems, like basically flow through this. So it's really easy to see. Like occasionally our network operations might see some kind of slowness in maybe the iOS app, and you can look at this to tell immediately, like, is this an API problem or is this something that is a client bug of some kind? and so the other latency heat maps are basically the other services. So kind of how the traffic flows in, and then it's at another service. So you might see the latency is only impacting one of the services. And then below that, we have like our Postgres load averages for the database. So we can tell like maybe it's a database problem or not. And then we have some other things just like the RPS below that, just informative. And if we had the other screen, essentially we have the raw logs for each of the services. So on this particular dashboard, you can dig into the logs themselves if you want to see them, if there were errors or bad performance.
Okay, so now this is what you use to understand the performance. How is this an improvement over what you had before then?
Well, before, if you were seeing, say, errors on the front line, like one of the network people that aren't necessarily technical and don't know all the moving pieces of the system, they might not know where to report the error. So a generic ticket might get created in Jira or whatever, and then like, you know, sometime later a product person might look at it and they don't necessarily know exactly where in the system, like what team to talk to. So like with this, it can immediately tell you like, oh, it's a problem with just search. And so they know to open a ticket, you know, with the search team or whatever.
Okay, very good. So I know we have one more visualization that we are going to be sharing as well. So let's go into that. So just a second. All right. Okay. So I think this is another visualization you were hoping to share with everybody. Do you mind talking a little bit why this dashboard was actually built?
So we have a kind of network operations team, and these people are essentially looking at all of our video streamings on different platforms like iOS, Android, like a couple of gaming consoles and such. And it initially is just the percentile request with the 99th, 95th, and then median, and a few others that show general slowness. So like if there's a spike in, say, you know, the mean request time, then they can look at this and see like, is this something that's trending or did it recover some kind of network blip? And the other two things it shows is one, just the traffic light, like the latency and errors. Like if we define the latency as like if the 95th percentile is bad, like of a certain point for a certain amount of time, then this light would turn red. And that might tell the operations center like, hey, this is an actual problem. You might actually want to page someone. Or if there were pages going off, like maybe let the engineers wake up. And same for errors, like if the error count exceeds a certain threshold, like we're getting more 500s or stack traces or whatever, then this could go to red too. So what you don't want to see is like both red. So this allows like the network operations people that don't necessarily know the code or the services to kind of tell if there's a problem. And the percentage of good versus bad is basically just, are the requests going to the clients failing? So like if 10% of the requests were failing, there'd be like a red part of the area chart saying that there were things other than 200s.
Okay. And how has this actually improved the day-to-day of the organization since implemented? Could you share with us as well?
It's definitely helped. Like we don't get as many false positive pages. The DM or our network operations people effectively don't I think they feel more comfortable and all about the system, because that, like if they see a problem, they're not completely in the dark. Like they feel like they have more insight, so that they tend not to worry as much.
Okay, very good. So for everybody listening to us right now, if you do have any questions about the visualizations that Justin has shared, please definitely send us your questions. Yeah, he will be happy to kind of share more details with you. But let me share our camera again. We're gonna kind of finalize this part of the webinar, and we'll definitely dive into how to build some visualizations like this yourself. So Justin, going off of that, just curious then, what would be the impact to you, to the team, and even to the organization itself if you lost this visualization today? Maybe you can kind of share a real life story how this truly helped the company, or like where have you gained some benefits from it that actually would be lost with stopping using a solution like this. I'm just curious if you actually could share a story with us on the impact of this today within the company.
Well, in previous versions of our platform, I had seen like the pain of debugging and not having any insight. Various parts of the organization would get very concerned. We do live events and such. So essentially, if you don't have the ability to point at a picture, like maybe to an executive that has questions, like you have to, convince them only with words. Like it's generally a lot easier on my job. Like if I get asked about a problem that happened, like if you can just take a screenshot or a snapshot and send it to, or include it in some report. So it would make my job a lot more difficult. I'd probably have to use Excel, which most software developers don't wish on anyone.
Okay, very good, very good. So any closing thoughts or tips you want to share with our listeners today?
It's fun to explore. Like once you have your data in a system like this, you can ask questions. Like there's a lot of things, if you just dig into the visualizations, that you might come up with ways to ask questions and answer questions and see things about both your logs and data that you might not have otherwise seen. We have another like kind of geo dashboard that I look at occasionally that you can see like errors per region and stuff like that. Like so if there were some kind of outage or problem, in Europe only, then it can let you know about problems like that, which I would have never considered, with normal logs.
Okay, very good. So Justin, would like to thank you for joining us for this session, and also sharing your experience with us as well. By the way, Justin will be sticking around, as I mentioned, for the Q&A. So if you have any questions, definitely shoot them our way, and we'll take it from there. But let's dive into building some visualizations now. All right, to start off, I'm sharing this with you because this actually is required for you to build this visualization. This is actually a new feature that Logz.io just released. If you actually go into the account settings, which is a cogwheel on the right-hand side, and you actually click on Manage Accounts, you're going to see a list of accounts that you currently have. If you choose an account, as you can see here, I have highlighted a demo account. From there, you can actually expand advanced options, and you will see 2 checkboxes, which you can check right now. The first one is save account utilization metrics, which you can then choose every 10, 30, or 60 minutes. And the save log size. What this will help us next is actually build visualizations so we can further explore how much usage you have within the account. The reason we're actually using this as a way to help you build some visualizations is for a couple of reasons. One, everybody on this webinar will be able to do this. It will help you understand the volume you're actually sending to Logz.io so you can make better decisions around it. And third, this is something that we actually have some pretty cool visualizations we have built, so you will be able to learn to build some visualizations based on this data itself. All right, so let's dig in. The first thing I did, just so you know, I already have prepared here, is that if you look for a new log type called Logz.io _account_utilization, it will show you all the logs that are being creating for the utilization itself. Just to kind of give you a breakdown of what we are seeing and what we will be using for the visualizations today, is that we have a timestamp, your account ID, your account name. If you have multiple accounts, as you can see, I will have more than one account showing up, as I have a sandbox account as well. It will give me an expected utilization by the end of the day. This is, by the way, is a percentage, so my expected utilization is about 4%. Expected volume by the end of the day, a grace capacity, which anything over 100, that means we actually giving you a little extra space there for the way Elasticsearch actually does things. I'm not going to go into details, but this will give you an extra over the percentage you already have today. Your plan, which on this one, it's a 7 GB account, while this sub account is a 2 GB account. Also, as you can see, the type, the current utilization that I have right now, and the volume that I have right now. Cool. So let's build some visualizations based on this. So I'm going to go to visualize. For you to start building visualizations, all you have to do is decide what's the visualizations you want to build. Look at your data and click on the little plus right here. From there, choose the kind of chart you want to create or what kind of visualization you want to build. Let's start off with a data table. Basically, well, the reason we're going to use the data table is actually to create an account breakdown of usage. As you saw, I had a main account using data, I had a sub account using data, so I actually want to see everything from one place. So that's what I'm going to do next. So from there, I do have a saved search called account utilization. So I'm actually going to use that. So I'm actually narrowing down the information for my logs I'm going to be using for. However, you also have this new search or select index, which has your customer index. If you were to choose that, you actually would choose all the data that you have currently being shipped to Logz.io. But since I have this being built right now, the search, that's what I'm going to use for this one. Excellent. So from there, what I see, as you can see, I have for today, which is the time frame I have chosen, and I have a count of 86. 86 tells us that there's 86 log lines that came through today so far. So what I'm going to do is break down the metrics, okay? So the first thing is I'm actually going to choose max. And then actually what I'm going to do next is planned volume. If you remember, just going back quickly, if I go back to Discover, I showed you here the fields. They actually have a field name and a value. In a visualization, what I'm doing next is actually choosing that value. So let's do it again. I'm going to choose the max for a planned volume in gigabytes. And by playing that, as you can see, the max volume is 7, which if you remember, I had a sub account as well. We have to break that down as well. Next, I'm actually going to add a new metric. And for the aggregation, I'm going to choose max. But let's dig a little bit deeper here on this. Why I'm choosing max is because I actually want the greatest amount that there is on today for the logs I'm actually currently seeing. So for this visualization in particularly, I want to see where I'm going to be and so on and so forth. So what I'm going to do once again, I chose max. And next, I'm going to choose a volume in gigabytes. And if I click play, as you can see, the max volume in gigabytes that I'm currently using is .22. But there's better ways to actually fix those labels. We'll do that as well. Next, I'm actually adding one more metric, which is I want to know the utilization. For that, once again, I will choose max because I want the highest volume or the highest amount, and choose utilization. So now I actually have a 7, which is my demo account. It's 7 gigabytes, a usage of 0.22, and utilization of 3%. But let's actually try to make sense out of this. So as you can see here, I have buckets. What I chose is to split the roles. And what am I going to do next is I'm going to choose terms, which allows me to choose a field. And the field I'm going to choose is called account name. If you remember from the list I had, it's showing up right there. And so from here, what I see now is my main account, which is a demo account, which you can see right here on the right-hand side, plus some sub-accounts. And it shows me the max volume that I have, 7, 3, and 2 gigabytes, how much they're currently using, and the utilization for the day so far. The thing is, maybe I'm building this for someone who is new or someone who's not very technical. So what I can do is, you can see there's custom labels. So I could just do some changes. So I'm going to do account name, and by playing that, as you can see, it changes the label right here on the top, and I can do that for the rest as well. I'm not going to go through everything here, but you can decide on your own what makes the most sense. Create some custom labels that actually would make sense for someone visually seeing this, and you would take it from there. Okay, so now we have our first visualization. What I'm going to do then, let's build a second visualization based on our account utilization. So let's call this webinar, and I'm going to call it account breakdown. Let's actually give it a different name, webinar 2, just in case I have some visualizations that I didn't purge from last time. Very good. So now I have this visualization built. In case you want to add some other things, feel free to do so. But this is the basic that we're going to be building for this visualization. All right, let's go into a second visualization. This next one is going to be a utilization per account. We're actually going to use a line chart for this one. And why are we building this one in particularly? It will help us see our utilization over time. So we'll give us a breakdown by account as well, so we can spot any spikes. So let's say you actually have a couple of accounts with us, you have some sub accounts, and you kind of want to see if there is any spikes that are happening within your data, and you actually will be able to see through the usage of a line chart. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, as you can see right now, I actually using the y-axis as account. First thing I'm going to do is actually choose a max utilization. The reason I'm choosing a max utilization is because I want to see what's the maximum utilization over time. But first thing that I'm going to do is choose max and choose utilization. If I click play right now, as you can see, I only see one small dot that tells me the utilization is 3, which actually signifies 3%. So the next thing I'm going to do is actually add a x-axis, and the aggregation, I'm going to choose date histogram. So let's click play here and see what happens next. By clicking play, I'm actually now seeing a timestamp of 30 minutes, as you can see right here on the bottom. I'm choosing to see the logs from today. And basically it tells me when the day started. I started at 2%. And right around 10:30, actually spiked to 3%. So creating a visualization like this, it will show you a max utilization, or the utilization that's been used based on the time frame you choose. Next, as I said, I have some sub accounts. So what I'm going to do is add a sub bucket. I'm going to split the series next, and the sub aggregation I'm going to choose is terms. What terms allows me to do, once again, is to choose a field, and I'm going to choose the field account name. And then by clicking on play, as you can see right here, I have a demo account, a sandbox account, and a test A account, which unfortunately we don't have a lot of data coming through. So the lines are right here on the bottom, which is actually 0% utilization. But if you have some sub accounts with good amount of volume coming through, they're going to come in and you should be able to see everything right here. Cool. If you have had the time to build this so far, by the way, you have to activate those account utilizations in the account. It may take a little bit to kick in, but hopefully you're taking notes, and it should be pretty straightforward for you as well. All right, let's save this. So we actually can put everything under one roof in a dashboard. I'm going to call this a utilization by account. Excellent. Now, let me give you a tip before we keep moving forward to build some other visualizations. We have this option here within Logz.io called ALK Apps. If you come here on the search and you type data volume, you will see this data volume dashboard. It was built by one of our solutions architects called Greg. So if you are actually one of someone working with Greg, thank him, because you don't have to bother building anything I just built for you. You actually can come here, click on install. That will install a dashboard for you with the two visualizations we have built. So this is actually a shortcut. So in case you're like, how do I do this? How do I do that? Just install it, install the dashboard, and you're good to go. From there, I'm actually going to be building two other dashboards, which are not part of the ALK apps, to kind of give you some other options to visualize this data. But this is a quick way to cheat into this part of the training, by the way. Cool. So this visualization is built. Let's go into the next one. All right. So I do have time to probably do two more visualizations that I have planned, and then we can go into some of the special things we actually planned out for you guys. The next one I'm going to build is actually a gauge. A gauge actually will work really well in case you don't have sub-accounts. If you do have sub-accounts, you're going to need a little bit more of work than I have done myself on what I'm going to show you. So bear with me, and if you have any questions about this one, let us know. Cool. So what a gauge will do is that you actually can choose a breakdown of volume. If you remember, actually Justin shared a stoplight with us, which is green, yellow, and red. It's a very similar process to this right here, the gauge, but what I want to build the gauge is really the gigabyte utilization. So this what we'll do is actually when it's staying green, I'm going to know that I'm actually under 80%. If I'm actually in yellow, I'm going to be between 80 and 100%. And anything over is 100% is going to be what we call a grace period. If you remember, you can check that within the logs themselves as well. So let's dive in. Let's build a gauge to understand how much data we're actually using. So from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a metric. Oh, it's not add a metric. I'm going to change this metric from count to maximum volume in gigabytes, because I want to know what the latest volume that I'm using, how much it is. As you can see, my current usage is 0.22. However, I need to then correct on the side here to match exactly the gigabyte that I have. To do that, I'm going to click on options, and from here I'm going to change the range. So I already have my numbers set up. So 80% of 7 gigs for the main account that I'm going to be using for is going to be 5.6. So from there, I'm going to 5.6 to 6 to 7, which is 7 gigabyte account. And from there, 7, if you remember, I had a 70% grace, which then allows me to change the gauge right here. As you can see, I'm currently in the green, which tells me I have this much green to reach 80%. Once I'm in the yellow, I'm actually on the last 20%. And from there, you're going to have your grace period to the point once I actually reach the end of my grace period, basically I'm actually shut off and logs won't be ingested at that point. So this is a way for you to know if you're getting too close to your data, your daily volume. You can contact our support team to let us know that something is happening, contact your account manager, or also for you to have an idea if something is happening. If this start happening like midday, like right now, I was already at 110%, there's a good chance I may actually break this grace period that I have, and all of a sudden I actually need my logs to be ingested. So what this will help you is through a green and yellow and red to tell you where you actually currently stand. Cool. Let me save this. Oh, let me correct my spelling. And I'm going to call it gigabyte gauge. Excellent. Lastly, if you remember, we actually activated one last thing called log size. I'm going to help you then identify when certain logs types are currently being ingested more than others, so you know exactly where your volume is coming from. So for that, I'm actually going to use a line chart as well. And for this, I'm not going to use utilization because this is a different value that's created on each log line, which is actually called log size. So I'm actually going to choose the customer index. So for this, first thing I'm going to do is actually break down the x-axis and choose a date histogram, which will then show me the volume, the way it's coming throughout the day. And from there, I'm actually going to split this by type, by once again choosing terms. And for the field, I'm going to choose type, which will show me each of the types that I have coming through. As you can see, Palo Alto, Meraki, ELB, and so on and so forth. If you do that on your end, you will see the log types you're actually shipping in yourself. I'm just going to increase this to 20 for now because I'm actually going to make some changes to this. So right now, as you can see, this is a log count. It's not really the log size. What I want to know is by log type, what is the log size of those types of logs that are coming through. To do so, I need to change the y-axis. And what I want to do is a sum, okay? But let's start with this first. And if I choose a sum only and I click play, what this actually does is that it shows me the sum on a 30 minutes increments, but they are not being accumulated. What I want to know is on every time, every 30 minutes, how is that sum accumulating over time? So we're going to actually have to do a change to the aggregation. We're actually going to have to do a cumulative sum. And from there, I'm going to actually have to use sum of the log size. And by doing this, as you can see, I actually got a flag. The flag is you need to have a date histogram at the bottom of the chart. So what I need to do is actually move those around. So this one is a little trickier, but by doing so, as you can see now, I see my log types coming through, and also a sum of the volume and a cumulative sum over time. So I know that Palo Alto is actually taking most of the data that I currently have with Logz.io. So what this will do is, as you're sending those logs, you can split this however you want. So you can identify where the logs are being generated within your environment and the ones that are actually using the most data. All right, let's save this. Let's call it webinar 2. And I'm just going to choose a log size. Excellent. Now I'm going to do this next part really fast, but creating the visualization is the key point. What I'm going to do is add everything to this dashboard, and I'm going to call it webinar 2. And by saving it, one thing I would recommend you is actually store the time of the dashboard as well. So every time you come in, you actually will see the day. I actually didn't. So, however, it's very important for you to save the time, because if you choose a different time, you will break things on you. But as you can see now, I can see all the utilization of my account, log size, and so on and so forth from one nice place. And from here, I can do whatever is necessary with my data. All right, that's what I have for you guys today. Hopefully this was very helpful and you guys enjoyed this part of the training. And I'll pass it to Boaz, who actually will share some cool stuff with you guys. Go ahead, Boaz.
All right, so thank you very much, Thiago. That was fascinating. Why don't you take a sip of water? You talked like crazy in the last 30 minutes. All right, so we do have a couple of questions came in. And you know what? You wanted me to start with that? Let's start.
Yeah, why don't we start with this, with the challenge first?
Let's start with a challenge to the audience here. So guys, if you install our data volume dashboard to your account and you share it with us via Logz.io, help at Logz.io, just share the snapshot of what you got, and we'll send you a T-shirt as cool as Thiago and myself
and then we'll show you the T-shirt by the end. And what Boaz means here, all you have to do is go to El Caps and install the dashboard that I showed you, And all you have to do from there is actually click on Share Snapshot right here, type help at Logz.io right there, and you will share your dashboard with us that you have installed it yourself after actually activating the utilization, and we will send you a Logz.io t-shirt if you're interested. Cool. And we have the second one. Do you want to?
Yes, the second one. If you create a brand new dashboard and contribute to our LCAPs, and if that's approved, we'll send you a Logz.io t-shirt, as we'll send to everyone, but also a $50 Amazon gift card on us, just so you can buy something nice for yourself, for your partner, for whomever.
So just to kind of go off of that, if you build any kind of visualization that you feel would be useful for to other users within our community, so we actually can add to the LCAPs, you can build it yourself. And as you can see here, there's a contribute button. Just fill this information out. On description, just make sure to put per webinar or just whatever, so we can identify you. Let us know that you built this, and if approved, which means that if we actually release this to the public so everybody else can take advantage of the dashboard you built, we'll send you a t-shirt and a $50 gift card. Cool.
Right.
All right, let's take it from there.
So why don't you go for it? A few questions that we got from the audience. So how do I share visualizations and dashboards? I think you just showed it. So if you can just quickly review.
Well, there's a couple of ways to do it. So in case you build a visualization and you want to share with other people, one of the things you will see is that there's a little camera right here. So by clicking on the camera next to a visualization, you can share that visualization itself. And you can actually type a message. And from there, you actually can choose to share that through an endpoint or over email, like I showed you guys. And then as simple as clicking on the share button, boom, it's shared. If you actually want to share the dashboard itself, click on this snapshot right here on the top. However, there's different ways to share it as well. As you can see, if I click on the share up top right there, I can actually share a link, which actually would be then not only a snapshot, but also a dashboard. We can be shared publicly. I think one of the things that Justin shared with you all was a visualization that he shares with different parts of the team. And I'm pretty sure they're actually using something like this so they can see the data live, just not a snapshot of it.
All right. Cool. Great. So, Thiago, do you recommend setting up auto refresh on dashboards?
I personally would say it depends on the dashboard that you're building. If, of course, if you need auto refresh because you need the current data, yes. Otherwise, if you actually want to just create a dashboard that has a fixed data for whatever the reason, then build it that way as well. It really depends on your use case. The majority of the people I work with would say yes, they do use the auto refresh.
Makes sense. Okay, and if you can just remind us, which funnel did you use for the traffic light, the cool thing that Justin showed us?
So if you actually go into visualize and you go into the list of visualizations, it's right here, traffic light. So very similar to the gauge. If we were actually dive into a little bit, as you can see, there's a count. So you have to choose the data. You have to think through that, how you want this to work. And from it there, you actually can create the threshold and so on and so forth.
All right.
Cool.
I think maybe the last one, can I modify the LCAPs to fit my custom field names?
Yes. So pretty good question. So let's say you actually start using a Elk apps visualization and you actually want to do any editing. What you can do is click on edit. It will give you this little pencil right there. You can click on it and make any changes to it. Once this is saved, it will save directly on the dashboard as well. So if you actually want to make any changes to kind of fit your needs, the Elk apps is more a generic visualization of your data, but of course you will have your own personal needs. So feel free to do so and make those changes.
All right, cool. And you know what? You were talking about sharing visualizations and even the entire dashboard over endpoint and emails, but can I share visualizations across my sub-accounts without recreating them?
Yes, you can. Because I'm actually on a limited account right now, I cannot show you the option, but you will see a manage account. If I actually go back into this visualization right here, if I was to choose, let's say, sandbox, I would have 2 extra options right here on the advanced options, which would allow me to share visualizations between accounts. So if you go to a sub account, you will be able to see that option and do so.
All right,
Excellent.
very good. Thanks. Okay, folks, we are on top of our time here, so I think that's it for today. Thank you very much, Justin. Thanks, Thiago, and thank you all for attending. I hope you all learned something new today. We love to get any feedback and any comment you have at help@Logz.io, and we'll make sure we'll be sending you a recording of this webinar pretty soon. We're holding another webinar in a month, and you're all welcome to let us know if there's any specific topic or any feature you'd like us to talk about and to train about. Please share with us your new visualizations and dashboards, and we'll be glad to give you a nice shout out, a t-shirt, and if you make something cool that the entire community can use later on, we'll even send you a gift card so you can use at your preference. That's it. As always, please make sure to book your free training session. If you need any one-on-one session with one of our customer success engineers, please don't hesitate and ask. We are willing to do that in order to make sure you're all happy and successful. So until we meet again, please take care of yourselves and your logs, and let us know if we can help you to be more successful. We look forward to meeting you again soon. Thank you, Thiago. Thanks,
Thank you, guys.
Justin. Bye-bye. Take care of yourself.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye-bye.